My son looked me straight in the eye and said those words, "Pack your bags, Mom. Jessica's parents will live here now. They need the space more than you do." I just smiled, said nothing, and walked to my room. What he didn't know was that this house, the one he was so eager to take from me, had a secret that would change everything. I'm glad you're here with me. Please like this video and listen to my story till the end, and let me know which city you're listening from. That way, I can see how far my story has traveled. I spent 41 years building a life I was proud of. My name is Dorothy, and at 68 years old, I thought I understood how the world worked. My husband, Harold, and I raised our only son, Kevin, in a modest but comfortable home in Rochester, Minnesota. We weren't wealthy by any stretch, but we were careful. We saved every spare dollar, invested wisely, and built something solid over the decades. Harold worked 35 years at the same manufacturing plant, rising from floor worker to shift supervisor. I taught elementary school for 28 years before retiring. Together, we accumulated a nest egg of just over $400,000, paid off our house completely, and even managed to help Kevin through college without him taking on a single dollar of student debt. When Harold passed away 5 years ago from a sudden heart attack, I inherited everything we'd built together. The house, valued at around $280,000, our savings accounts, his life insurance policy of $150,000. It wasn't a fortune, but it was enough for me to live comfortably and perhaps leave something meaningful behind for Kevin and his family. Kevin had always been a good son, or so I believed. He called every Sunday without fail, visited on holidays, brought his wife Jessica and their 2 children, Marcus, who was 12, and little Sophie, who was 8. We had traditions. Christmas Eve at my house with my famous pot roast. Summer barbecues in the backyard where Harold's old grill still worked perfectly. Birthday dinners where I'd make whatever the birthday person requested, no matter how complicated. I helped them when I could, babysitting whenever they needed a night out. The occasional financial gift when they needed help with the down payment on their minivan. $3,000 when Marcus needed braces. $5,000 when Sophie's medical bills piled up after her emergency appendectomy. I gave freely because that's what mothers do. That's what family means. After Harold died, I continued living in our family home. 4 bedrooms, 2.5 bathrooms, a big backyard with the garden Harold and I had tended for decades. It was too much space for one person, people often said, but every room held memories. Harold's workshop in the basement, the kitchen where we'd shared thousands of meals, the bedroom where we talked about our dreams for 40 years. Kevin suggested, about a year after his father passed, that I might be lonely in such a big house. "Mom, why don't you come stay with us for a while? We have that spare room. The kids would love having you around." I was touched by the offer. Truly, I was. But I wasn't ready to leave my home. "Maybe someday," I told him. "But not yet. I'm doing fine here." He didn't push. Not then. He just nodded and said, "The offer's always open." I believed him. The first crack appeared about 2 years ago. Kevin called one Tuesday evening, his voice strained in a way I hadn't heard before. They needed $15,000, he said. Jessica had lost her job unexpectedly, and they were behind on their mortgage, 3 months behind. They could lose the house. I didn't hesitate. I transferred the money the next day. A month later, at a family dinner at their house, I asked Jessica how the job search was going. I wanted to be supportive, to show interest in her situation. She looked at me with confusion. Job search? What do you mean? My heart skipped. Kevin said you lost your job. That's why you needed help with the mortgage. Jessica's face changed. Something flickered across it, gone before I could name it. Oh, right. Yeah, I'm still looking. She glanced at Kevin, who jumped in quickly. She's been applying everywhere, Mom. It's just a tough market right now. But I saw the look that passed between them, the silent communication, the slight widening of Jessica's eyes, the tiny shake of Kevin's head. I let it go. I wanted to let it go. What mother wants to believe her son is lying to her? But the damage was done. I started paying attention, really paying attention. I noticed how Jessica's face tightened whenever I mentioned my house, the way she'd look around my living room with calculating eyes, like she was measuring the furniture for her own home, the way Kevin would steer conversations toward my health, my age, whether I was managing all by myself. Mom, have you thought about what happens when you can't manage the stairs anymore? He asked one evening. I manage them just fine, I replied. I walk 2 miles every morning. But eventually, Mom, we need to think about the future. The suggestions became more pointed. Had I thought about selling the house and moving into an assisted living facility? There were lovely ones nearby. They had activities, social events, people my own age. And wouldn't it be nice not to worry about home maintenance anymore? I was 66 at the time, in perfect health, with more energy than most people half my age. But suddenly, my son was talking to me like I was fragile, failing. Then came the comments about my finances. Mom, you really should add me to your bank accounts. Just in case something happens to you, I could help manage things. I can manage my own finances, Kevin. I've been doing it for 40 years. I know, but you're getting older. What if you forget to pay a bill? What if someone takes advantage of you? I felt the first stirrings of real alarm. This wasn't concern. This was something else. The request came 8 months ago. Kevin sat me down after Sunday dinner, Jessica hovering in the doorway with her arms crossed. Mom, we've been talking. Our house is getting too small. Marcus needs his own room. Sophie needs space for her art projects. Jessica's parents are struggling too, and they might need to come live with us. I nodded. That sounds crowded. Exactly. Kevin leaned forward. So we thought, what if we moved in here? Your house has 4 bedrooms, plenty of space for everyone. You could have the downstairs guest room. We'd take the master. The kids could have the 2 rooms upstairs, and when Jessica's parents need to join us, they could take the basement suite. I blinked. The basement doesn't have a suite. We'd build one, convert Harold's workshop. It would be perfect. Harold's workshop, the space where my husband had spent countless hours building things with his hands, the workbench he'd built himself, the tools he'd organized so carefully. They wanted to tear it apart. I'm not sure about this, Kevin. Just think about it, Mom. It makes sense. This house is too big for you anyway. And this way, we'd all be together. We could take care of you. I said I'd think about it, but something cold had settled in my chest. That night, I couldn't sleep. I lay in the bed Harold and I had shared for decades and tried to understand what was happening. My son wanted my house, not to share it with me, to take it over, to push me into a corner room while his wife's parents got the space Harold had loved most. Maybe I was being paranoid. Maybe Kevin really was just thinking of the family's well-being. The text message came 6 weeks later. I was sitting in my garden, the late afternoon sun warming my face, when my phone buzzed. Kevin's name appeared on the screen. I smiled, expecting a simple greeting or maybe a question about the grandchildren. Instead, I read words that made my blood run cold. "Mom, we've made a decision. We're moving in next month. Jessica's parents need to come sooner than expected. Her dad's health is declining. You'll need to pack your things and move to the downstairs room by the 15th. We'll handle the rest. This is what's best for everyone." No question, no discussion, no asking my permission. My hands trembled. I read the message again and again. The garden seemed to blur around me. Bees hummed in the flowers Harold had planted. A cardinal sang in the oak tree. And my son had just told me I was being evicted from my own home. I sat there for nearly an hour, my coffee growing cold on the table beside me. What had triggered this? We'd had a pleasant dinner together just last weekend. Everything had seemed normal. Kevin had hugged me goodbye, told me he loved me, and now this. Or had this resentment been simmering beneath the surface all along, hidden behind Sunday dinners and holiday visits and those hugs that suddenly felt hollow? I took a deep breath. My hands steadied. Something crystallized inside me, clear and cold and certain. I typed 2 words. Okay. Understood. Nothing more. I hit send and set the phone down. Then I went inside and called my lawyer. Margaret Chen had been my attorney for over 15 years. She'd helped Harold and me update our wills, handled the paperwork when he died, advised me on investments and estate planning. She was sharp, no nonsense, and she didn't suffer fools. "Dorothy," she said when she answered, "how can I help you?" "Margaret, I need to revise some documents, and I need to do it quickly. Can you fit me in this week?" "Of course. Is everything all right?" "Everything is perfectly clear," I replied, and for the first time in months, it was. 3 days later, I sat in Margaret's office with a folder of documents spread across her desk. "Let me make sure I understand," Margaret said, her glasses pushed up on her head. "You want to transfer the house into a trust, with yourself as the sole beneficiary during your lifetime. You want to revise your will to remove Kevin as the primary beneficiary, and you want to document everything that's happened over the past 2 years." "That's right." "May I ask why?" I told her. "Everything. The lies about Jessica's job, the constant pressure to give up my independence, the text message demanding I vacate my own bedroom for my daughter-in-law's parents." Margaret's face grew darker with each detail. "Dorothy, this sounds like the beginning of elder financial abuse. Have you considered that?" I had. Late at night, staring at the ceiling, I'd considered it carefully. "I have. That's why I'm here." She nodded slowly. "Good. Let's protect you." Over the next 2 weeks, Margaret and I rebuilt my estate plan from the ground up. The house went into a revocable living trust. I was the trustee and sole beneficiary during my lifetime. After my death, the house would go to a charitable foundation that supported education for underprivileged children, a cause Harold and I had always believed in. Kevin's inheritance was reduced to a token amount, $10,000 and a letter explaining why. The rest of my assets, nearly $300,000 after all the help I'd given over the years, would be split between the same charity and a scholarship fund at my old school. I also documented everything, every text message, every request for money. The $15,000 I'd given for the mortgage that apparently wasn't behind. The pattern of pressure and manipulation. I kept copies with Margaret in my safe deposit box, and on a flash drive I hid where no one would think to look. And I did one more thing. I pulled up the property records for Kevin's house, the one that had supposedly been 3 months behind on the mortgage, the one I'd given $15,000 to save. According to the county records, there had been no late payments. Not 3 months before my gift. Not ever. Kevin had lied. He'd looked me in the eye and lied, and he'd taken $15,000 from his mother under false pretenses. Something inside me finished dying. The mother who had given everything, who had trusted without question, who had loved without limits. She was gone now. In her place stood someone harder. Someone who saw clearly. Kevin called 2 days after I sent my text. "Mom, I'm glad you understand. We'll start moving some boxes over this weekend, okay? Jessica's already planning how to set up the master bedroom." "Actually, Kevin, I've been thinking." "About what?" "About the house, about this arrangement you've proposed." "It's not a proposal, Mom. We've made the decision. It's what's best for everyone." I let silence stretch between us. "Mom, are you there?" "I'm here. I'm just wondering something. What exactly makes you think you have any right to make decisions about my house?" Another silence, longer this time. "What do you mean? You're our mother. We're your family. This is what families do." "Do they? Because from where I'm sitting, this looks like you're trying to push me out of my own home to make room for Jessica's parents." "That's not fair. You'd still live here. You'd just have the guest room instead of wasting all that space upstairs." "Wasting?" I let the word hang there. "My bedroom, my office, the room where your father and I raised you. Wasting." "Mom, you're being dramatic." "Am I? Tell me something, Kevin. What happened to the $15,000 I gave you for the mortgage?" Dead silence. "Kevin, that was for household expenses. You know how hard things have been. The county records show you've never missed a mortgage payment. Not once in the 7 years you've owned that house." His breathing changed, faster, shorter. "You were checking up on me?" "I was protecting myself, something I should have started doing a long time ago." "This is Jessica, isn't it? She's been telling you things, turning you against us." "Jessica hasn't said a word to me. You've done this all by yourself, Kevin." He hung up. An hour later, my phone buzzed with a text from Jessica. "I don't know what's going on between you and Kevin, but you're tearing this family apart. Think about your grandchildren." I didn't respond. The next day, Kevin showed up at my door. He didn't knock. He used the key I'd given him years ago for emergencies and walked right into my kitchen, where I was having my morning coffee. "Mom, we need to talk." I looked at him. My son. The baby I'd nursed, the toddler I'd chased, the teenager I'd worried over, the man I'd believed in. He stood there with his jaw tight and his fists clenched, looking at me like I was an obstacle to be overcome. "You used to knock," I said. "This is family property. I have a right to be here." "Actually, you don't, and I'll be needing that key back." His face darkened. "What's gotten into you?" "Clarity. That's what's gotten into me." I stood up, setting my coffee cup on the counter. I was shorter than Kevin, older, smaller in every physical way. but I'd never felt more powerful in my life. Let me tell you what's going to happen, Kevin. You're not moving into this house. Your in-laws are not taking over your father's workshop. And I'm not retreating to the guest room of my own home to make space for people I barely know. Mom, that's ridiculous. We've already made plans. Then you should have asked me before making them. I don't need your permission. When you're gone, this house comes to me anyway. We're just getting an early start. There it was, the truth finally spoken aloud. When I'm gone, I repeated. And how exactly did you imagine that happening, Kevin? Were you planning to wait? Or were you hoping I'd conveniently decline after you'd shoved me into a corner? His face went red. That's a horrible thing to say. Is it? Because from where I'm standing, your whole plan is pretty horrible. I'm your son. Yes, you are, and that makes this worse, not better. He started pacing, running his hands through his hair the way he did when he was stressed. Look, Mom, maybe we got off on the wrong foot. Let's just start over. Forget the text. We can talk about this like adults. Find an arrangement that works for everyone. The arrangement that works for me is the one where I continue living in my own house, in my own bedroom, making my own decisions. The one where you treat me like your mother instead of an obstacle. Fine, fine. Forget the bedroom thing. But can we at least talk about the future? You can't live here forever. Eventually you'll need help, and Jessica's parents really do need a place to stay. Then you should help them find an apartment, or maybe put some of that $15,000 I gave you toward their housing. He froze. His eyes went hard. You're never going to let that go, are you? Let it go. Kevin, you lied to me. You stole from me. You looked me in the eyes and told me you were about to lose your house, and I gave you $15,000 that I'd been saving for my own future. And there was never any danger. You just wanted the money. It wasn't stealing. You gave it to me. Under false pretenses. That's fraud. His laugh was ugly. Fraud, right. You're going to have me arrested for asking my mother for help. I'm going to make sure you never have the opportunity to take advantage of me again. He moved closer, looming over me. It was meant to intimidate. Once it might have worked. What exactly does that mean? It means I've made some changes to my estate plan, to my financial accounts, to the way I'm managing my assets going forward. His face changed. The anger was still there, but something else crept in. Fear. What kind of changes? The kind that ensure everything I've worked for goes where I want it to go, not where you expect it to go. You can't do that. You can't just cut me out. Watch me. He grabbed my arm. Not hard enough to bruise, but hard enough to make his point. Mom, you're making a mistake. I don't know who's been putting ideas in your head, but this isn't right. We're family. Everything you have should come to me eventually. That's how it works. I looked down at his hand on my arm, then back up at his face. Let go of me, Kevin. Something in my voice made him obey. He stepped back, but his expression was ugly. You'll regret this. When you're old and sick and alone, don't come crying to me. You want to throw away your family? Fine, but you'll die alone. And Jessica's parents? They're more family to me than you'll ever be. He stormed out, slamming the door behind him. I stood in my kitchen, my heart pounding, but my hands steady. No, I whispered to the empty room. I won't regret this at all. The weeks that followed were hard. Kevin didn't call. didn't text, didn't bring the grandchildren to visit. It was as if I'd ceased to exist. Jessica, however, was busy. I started receiving calls from relatives I barely knew, asking if I was all right. Had I been feeling confused lately? Was I having memory problems? Several people mentioned that Kevin was worried about my mental state. Then came the letter from an attorney I'd never heard of, requesting a family meeting to discuss my declining capacity and the need for a care plan. I called Margaret immediately. "They're building a case for incompetency," she said grimly. "If they can get a court to declare you mentally unfit, Kevin could be appointed your guardian. He'd have control over your finances, your property, your medical decisions, everything." "Can they do that?" "They can try, but Dorothy, they don't have a leg to stand on. You're sharp as a tack, your medical records are clean, and you've been making sound financial decisions. I think it's time we went on the offensive." Margaret connected me with a specialist in elder law, a woman named Patricia Reeves, who'd handled dozens of cases just like mine. "The pattern you're describing is textbook elder financial abuse," Patricia said after reviewing my documents. "The false pretenses for money, the pressure to give up your home, the attempted isolation, and now the competency claims. This is a coordinated effort to gain control of your assets. What can I do?" "Document everything, get a full medical evaluation on record, and consider filing a police report about the fraudulent mortgage claim." That last suggestion made me pause. "A police report against my own son?" Patricia's voice was gentle but firm. "Dorothy, I know this is hard, but Kevin isn't acting like your son right now. He's acting like someone who sees you as a source of income. If you don't protect yourself, no one else will." I thought about it for 3 days. On the 4th day, I went to the police station. Officer Martinez was a kind woman in her 40s who'd seen cases like mine before. "It's more common than people think," she said. "Family members taking advantage of elderly relatives. We see it all the time." I provided copies of the text messages, the bank records showing the transfer, the county documents proving Kevin had never missed a mortgage payment. "I want to be clear," I said. "I'm not looking to send my son to prison. I just want this on record. I want a paper trail in case things escalate." Officer Martinez nodded. "We can document this as suspected elder financial exploitation. It'll create a record that could be useful if you need it later." 2 weeks after I filed the report, Kevin called. His voice was different, controlled, careful. "Mom, I think we should talk." "I'm listening." "I heard you went to the police." "I filed a report. I think you know why." "This is crazy, Mom. You're going to ruin my life over a misunderstanding?" $15,000 isn't a misunderstanding, Kevin. And neither is trying to have me declared incompetent so you can take control of my assets. Silence. "Yeah," I continued, "I know about that too, the letters, the phone calls to relatives, the attorney. I know exactly what you and Jessica have been doing. That's not. We were just worried about you." Don't you dare pretend this is about my well-being. You've been planning this for years, haven't you? The pressure to move to assisted living, adding you to my accounts. The sudden concern about my mental state. You were just waiting for the right moment to push. Mom, the answer is no. Kevin, to all of it, you're not getting my house. You're not getting my money. And you're not getting guardianship over me or anything else. I've taken steps to make sure of